Have you ever heard of a princess who was invisible? Not with a magic cloak, but invisible to history. Today, we're uncovering the story of a real-life forgotten royal, Princess Alice of the United Kingdom, a woman whose life was as dramatic and impactful as any fairy tale. Yet she remains one of history's best-kept secrets. Born in 1843, Alice was the second daughter of Queen Victoria. Growing up in a palace with 8 siblings, you might think her life was all glamour. But Alice was different. While her sisters were known for their beauty or artistic talents, Alice was the family's caregiver, the quiet, compassionate heart of the royal household. She was the one who nursed her father, Prince Albert, through his final illness, holding his hand until the very end. This experience shaped her entire life, igniting a passion for nursing and public health that was unheard of for a princess at the time. In 1862, Alice married the handsome but relatively poor Prince Louis of Hesse, a small German state. She left the grandeur of Windsor Castle for a modest life in Dublin. It was a culture shock. But instead of complaining, Alice rolled up her sleeves. She was determined to make a difference. She learned German, managed her own household, and most shockingly, for the time, she even breastfed her own children. Something no royal lady did back then. She wanted to be a hands-on mother, not a distant, regal figure. Alice's new home, Hesse, was far behind Britain in terms of sanitation and healthcare. So, what did our invisible princess do? She became a pioneer. She championed the work of Florence Nightingale, the founder of modern nursing. During the Austro-Prussian War, Alice didn't just sit back and knit socks. She established military hospitals, trained nurses, and even went to the front lines herself to tend to the wounded. Can you imagine a daughter of Queen Victoria in a simple dress, cleaning wounds and comforting dying soldiers? She was a true trailblazer, using her royal status not for parties, but for service. She founded organizations to train nurses and improve conditions for women and children. She wasn't just lending her name to a charity. She was in the trenches, organizing, fundraising, and getting her hands dirty. She became known as the Angel of Darmstadt, a beloved figure to her people, even if she was becoming a distant memory back in England. But Alice's life was also marked by profound tragedy. She lost 2 of her children in heartbreaking circumstances. Her young son, Fritty, who had hemophilia, a genetic disease passed down from Queen Victoria, died after falling from a window. The grief was immense. Then, just a few years later, a diphtheria epidemic swept through her family. Alice nursed them all, tirelessly moving from one sickbed to another. One by one, her husband and children recovered, except for her youngest daughter, May, who sadly passed away. Heartbroken, Alice tried to comfort her grieving son, Ernie. She gave him a kiss, a single, comforting kiss. But in that moment of love and compassion, she sealed her own fate. She had broken her own rule of not having close contact with the sick. She contracted diphtheria herself and, weakened by grief and exhaustion, she passed away on the 17th anniversary of her father's death. She was only 35 years old. So, why is she the invisible princess? Alice's story was overshadowed by her more famous mother, Queen Victoria, and her siblings, who married into more powerful European monarchies. Her life was short, and her work was done far from the spotlight of the British court, but her legacy is far from invisible. It lives on in the hospitals she founded and the nursing standards she championed. And most powerfully, it lives on through her children. One of her daughters, Alex, would go on to become Empress Alexandra Fyodorovna of Russia, the wife of the last Tsar Nicholas II. Another daughter, Victoria, was the grandmother of Prince Philip, the late husband of Queen Elizabeth II. That's right, Princess Alice's compassion, her resilience, and her spirit of service flowed down through the generations, directly influencing the modern British royal family. Princess Alice's story teaches us that true royalty isn't about crowns and castles. It's about compassion, courage, and the quiet determination to make the world a better place. She may have been invisible to the grand narratives of history, but her light shone brightly where it mattered most, in the lives of the people she served. She was a princess not of fairy tales, but of real, tangible impact. So, The next time you think of the Victorian era, remember the invisible princess who wasn't afraid to get her hands, Daddy who broke royal protocol for the sake of her children, and who gave her life in an act of love. Her story deserves to be told and remembered. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey into the past. If you enjoyed uncovering this hidden history, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories of the incredible figures that time forgot. Let me know in the comments which historical figure you'd like me to talk about next. See you in the next video.